A little girl walked alone into the Hells Angels camp, holding a single white flower. When she whispered why she came, every biker froze in shock. If you want to know what happened next, stay with this story to the end. Backhand index pointing right before we begin. Hit subscribe on Bikers Hype and like the video so we can bring you more emotional biker stories every day. Little girl begged the Hells Angels, "Please visit my brother's grave." The desert air was cold that evening, heavy with the scent of gasoline and the distant echo of Harley engines. The Hells Angels had gathered outside Dust Devil's Bar, a familiar place where chrome shined under neon lights and the sound of rumbling engines felt like a heartbeat. IT was a night like any other, until the storm cloud shifted, and a small shape appeared at the far end of the dusty road, a little girl walking alone. Her clothes were thin and dusty, her hair tied back messily, her eyes swollen, as if she cried the entire way. In her right hand, she held something delicate, a white flower. The bikers noticed her slowly. Conversations died. Cigarettes paused midair. Bottles stopped halfway to lips. And the leader of the group, Reaper, a massive man with a black beard dripping with the beginning rain, turned fully toward her. The little girl kept walking, step after trembling step. Her name was Maya. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Yet she approached the most feared motorcycle club in the entire region as if she had no other choice left in the world. Reaper took one step forward. "Kid, you lost?" he asked. Voice rough like gravel, Maya shook her head slowly. Her tiny voice cracked, but she forced the words out. "I came to ask you something." The bikers exchanged glances. Children didn't come here. Not ever. And no child approached the Hells Angels unless something was terribly, terribly wrong. Reaper crouched to her level, trying to soften his expression. "What is it, sweetheart?" Maya looked up at her with eyes that carried too much pain for someone her age. The flower in her hand trembled. "My brother, Aiden," she swallowed hard, her voice breaking. "He used to watch you guys ride. He said you were heroes like warriors of the road." Reaper blinked slowly. Maya continued. "He always said one day he would meet the Hells Angels, that he wanted to see your bikes, hear them roar, shake the ground." A few bikers looked at one another, unsure where this was going, but they felt it. Something heavy was coming. Maya took a deep breath. "But he died last year." Silence. Every biker froze. Not a single Harley hummed. The air turned still. Maya's hands tightened around the white flower so hard the petals bent. Her voice finally cracked into a sob. "Tomorrow is his death anniversary." A tear rolled down her cheek. "And I want you to visit his grave." The words fell like thunder. Every biker stiffened. Reaper's jaw locked. "Visit his grave?" he repeated softly, almost afraid of his own voice. Maya nodded, wiping her cheeks with a shaky hand. "Please, he loved you so much." He wore a tiny jacket. He made himself with a painted red skull. He pretended it was a Hells Angels patch. Behind Reaper, some bikers lowered their eyes. A memory of their own childhood scraped their chest, lost at a language every man understood. Reaper inhaled deeply, fighting the tightening in his throat. He looked at the little flower in Maya's hand. "Is that for him?" he asked gently. Maya nodded again. "He always wanted to give to one of you, but he never got the chance." Her shoulders shook as she cried harder, and every hardened biker felt a crack inside, even the ones who hadn't cried in decades. Reaper slowly placed his massive hand on her small shoulder. "Maya," he said, voice trembling despite his efforts to stay firm. "Why come to us? You could have asked anyone." She looked at the ground, then up at him with heartbreaking honesty. "Because Aiden believed you were the only one strong enough to hear him, even now." Reaper felt the words hit his chest like a hammer. This little girl had walked miles alone with nothing but a flower, because her brother believed the Hells Angels were more than bikers. They were the ones who wouldn't let it be forgotten. She lifted her trembling hand, offering the flower to Reaper. "Please, will you come? Just once? So he knows he wasn't wrong about you." The bar lights flickered behind them. The wind picked up. A drop of rain hit the ground. Reaper swallowed hard. He looked at the brothers behind him. The men who had fought, ridden, bled together. Men who had seen darkness and survived it. Men who knew loyalty better than any language. And for the first time in years, Reaper saw uncertainty in their eyes, as if each one wondered if they were worthy of this child's faith. Reaper exhaled slowly. Then he gently took the flower from Maya's shaking hand. "We ride at sunrise," he said quietly. "We'll go to Aiden's grave, all of us." Maya gasped and sobbed into her hands, overwhelmed. Reaper placed the flower carefully in his vest pocket, above his heart. "Your brother deserves a ride," he said, "and we don't break promises." Maya looked up, eyes shining with hope for the first time in a long time. "Thank you, thank you." The bikers stepped forward, forming a circle around her, not trapping her, but protecting her, accepting her into their world. For one night, Maya wasn't alone. For one night, the Hells Angels remembered exactly who they were. Warriors of the road, guardians of loyalty, men who rode for forgotten. And tomorrow, they would ride for Aiden. The ride, BG's, the night passed slower than any other night the Hells Angels had lived through. Dust Devil's Bar was quieter. No music, no shouting, no laughter. Only the sound of rain tapping against chrome and leather, and the soft breathing of a sleeping child inside Reaper's garage office. Maya slept curled in a chair, wrapped in a jacket that looked 5 sizes too big for her. Reaper had placed it on her shoulders himself. Even though he would never admit the gesture had made his chest ache. Around her, grown men, feared across states, took turns watching her like she was the only fragile thing left in the world. Reaper sat near the window, staring at the dark sky. Aiden, a kid they never met. A boy who believed in them enough for his sister to walk miles alone with a flower. IT wasn't something they could ignore. Not tonight. Not ever. The first hint of sunrise lit the horizon, orange bleeding into purple. Reaper stood. "Wake the boys," he said. "We ride in 10. Chrome shined. Engines growled alive. Leather vests were tightened. Patches glowed under dawn light. But before leaving, Reaper walked into the office and knelt beside Maya. "Hey," he whispered softly, touching her shoulder. "It's time." Maya blinked awake, rubbing her eyes. When she saw the men ready, lined up beside their bikes, her breath caught. You're all really going?" Reaper smiled. Something rare, cracked around the edges but real. A promise is a promise. She stood, clutching her small hands together. "Thank you," Reaper offered his hand. "Hop on." She hesitated. "I've never been on a motorcycle." "You're safe with me," he said simply, and Maya believed him. He lifted her gently, placing her on the seat in front of him. The other bikers watched in silence, each feeling the weight of this moment settle heavy in their chests. Thunder rolled across the sky as Reaper started the engine. The ride had begun. White medium started road as a convoy of Harleys stretched long across the desert road. Engines growled like rolling thunder. The ground vibrated. Birds scattered as they passed. But inside the noise, there was a strange peace. Maya sat quietly, holding the handlebars while Reaper kept his giant arms around her to steady her. Her tiny body pressed gently against his leather vest. Once in a while, she looked back at him. As if making sure all of this was real, Reaper's voice rumbled over the engine. "Tell me about your brother." She swallowed softly. "Aiden loved bikes since he was little. Whenever your club passed the old highway near our home, he would run to the window." Reaper glanced at her. "He recognized your sound," she added. He said, "That's them, the Angels." He wanted to ride one day. Reaper's grip tightened slightly. "Why didn't he?" She lowered her head. "He was sick. A heart condition. He couldn't run too much, couldn't ride, but he always dreamed." The road grew heavier beneath them. Maya continued, voice trembling. "Before he died, he told me, 'Maya, one day they'll ride for me. Angels don't forget people.'" A tear rolled down her cheek, and I did want him to be wrong. Reaper looked away for a moment. The desert around him blurred in the corners of his vision. He blinked hard. Sometimes grief looked like a little sister trying to honor her brother's last wish. White medium started they reached a small rural cemetery. Old iron gate, cracked stones, wild grass, faded flowers. A lonely place. Maya stepped off the bike and guided them through narrow paths. "There," she whispered, pointing to a small, modest grave partly covered by dry leaves. The headstone read, "Aiden's beloved brother, little warrior of the road, a small draw of a child's motorcycle was etched at the bottom. Crooked but full of love." Reaper's throat clenched. Maya knelt in front of the grave. "Aiden, they came." Her voice broke. "They came for you." The bikers stood behind her in a semicircle, their boots planted firmly in the dirt. Not a sound came from them, not even a breath. Reaper stepped forward and pulled a white flower from his vest pocket. Still intact despite the long ride, he knelt and placed it gently on the grave. "You didn't get to meet us, kid," he whispered, "but today we ride for you." The other bikers approached one by one. Some placed their bandanas. Some placed small badges. Some touched the headstone silently, honoring a boy they never met. A boy whose faith in them was stronger than many grown men's. Maya watched, crying softly, but smiling for the first time since the story began. A breeze blew through the cemetery, lifting leaves and grass in a soft swirl. For a moment, it felt like something unseen had joined them. A warmth, a presence that as if Aiden himself was standing among the roaring engines. White medium star the shocking Arville after several minutes. As the bikers prepared to leave, Maya tugged Reaper's vest. "There's something else," she whispered. Reaper knelt. "What is it, Maya?" She hesitated, tears welling again. "Aiden always dreamed of riding, but the hospital said no. So before he died, he asked me to do something." Reaper's brow furrowed. "What did he ask?" She reached into her small backpack and pulled out a tiny toy motorcycle, worn out, scratched, but deeply loved. He said, "If the angels ever come, tell them to take this on their bikes, so I can ride with them just once." Reaper stared at the toy, frozen. His lips parted. He felt his chest tighten painfully. The other bikers went silent again. Maya looked up with trembling hope. "Will you take him for a ride?" Reaper didn't answer with words at first. He gently cupped Maya's hands with his own giant palms. Then he nodded. "Yeah, kid, he rides with us today." He stood and held the toy motorcycle high where all could see. "Brothers," he shouted, "we ride for Aiden." Engines exploded to life. Birds fled. The cemetery thundered. Reaper placed the toy motorcycle in front of his bike, securing it like a sacred symbol. Maya gasped as the engine roared. It was as if Aiden's soul echoed in the sound. White medium star the legendary artist, streets trembled as the Hell's Angels rode in a long formation, leaving the cemetery behind. But this time, the ride wasn't just noise. It wasn't intimidation. It wasn't a club showing strength. It was a tribute, a farewell, a promise kept. People on the roadside stared as a child's toy motorcycle gleamed on the front of the lead Harley. Some took pictures. Some whispered emotional comments. Some cried without knowing why. Maya rode with Reaper again, but this time she held the toy in her lap, hugging it as if hugging her brother. Reaper whispered over the engine, "He's with us. Every mile, every roar, he's riding today." Maya closed her eyes, letting the wind brush her face. For a moment, she imagined Aiden sitting behind her, laughing, screaming with joy, holding her shoulders. Just once, he got his dream. White medium star back to Dust Devilsburg when they returned. The bikers expected to simply park their bikes and return to routine. They were wronged. A small crowd had gathered outside the bar, locals, travelers, even a journalist from a nearby town who had followed the roaring convoy that a woman stepped forward, a nurse in the hospital where Aiden had stayed. "I knew that boy," she whispered tearfully. "He talked about you all the time. Said you were the bravest man alive. He would be so proud." Reaper wasn't used to compliments. He wiped his nose on his glove and looked away. Another man approached, a store owner. "What you did today, no one around here will forget it," he said point one by one. People came forward, thanking them, shaking their hands, patting their shoulders. For the first time in years, the Hell's Angels weren't feared. They were respected, admired, seen, all because of the little girl's courage and brother's unshakable belief. White medium started goodbye as the sun began to set. Maya stood beside Reaper. "I have to go home now," she whispered. "Grandma will be waiting." Reaper nodded slowly. "You sure you don't want us to take you home?" She shook her head. "It's okay. I live close. And today, I'm not scared anymore." She looked up at him. "Thank you for making Aiden's dream come true." Reaper swallowed hard. "Take care of yourself, Maya." She hugged him suddenly, tiny arms around a giant leather vest, the hug strong enough to break the hardest heart. When she walked away, holding the toy motorcycle again, every biker watched her until she disappeared down the road. Reaper whispered under his breath, "Ride in peace, kid, both of you, Before ending, Maya's voice echoes softly. If you love the Hell's Angels, then share this video. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Prove your love the way they prove theirs. Backhand Index Pointing Right subscribe to Bikers Hype. Right now, Backhand Index Pointing Right. Like the video Backhand Index Pointing Right, share this story with your friends Backhand Index Pointing Right. Help us hit our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love.